Hello to everybody. My name is Maria Nenova, and I'm associate professor with the Faculty of Telecommunication in Technical University of Sofia. I know some of you, but for those people who doesn't know me, it's a short kind of a presentation who I am. I'm a leader of the lab in the field of cybersecurity in our faculty, and we are focused on the reliability issues and security issues in different ways. I mean, the network security, um, reliability in all its possibilities. But today I will be focused in some issues related to the smart cities, because we live in this world, and that's why for us it's really important to see what is exactly the situation, because actually a smart city is something really good which makes our life easier, but actually we have to pay attention to some issues which are important in order to, as I'm joking, to go from one side of the city till the other side of the city in the safest way. I was trying at the beginning to find some kind of a explanation what is exactly the smart city. And because I'm a member of Bulgarian ISO committee, that's why I started with this term taken from British Standardization Institute. And they are explaining that the smart city, according to their definition, is this effective integration of physical, digital, and human systems, which I like it very much because they pay attention to all important parts of the life in the smart city, in the built environment to deliver sustainable, which is one of the most important goals in our society, prosperous and inclusive future for its citizens. And one more definition, but in a taken in a technical part of our life. That's why I took it from ITU. And this definition says that a smart sustainable city is an innovative city, which I like it also very much because they pay attention that all these parts of the smart city are related to something innovative. And in this city that uses information and communication technologies without ICT. Even Peter in the morning with the presentation of both universities started how many students are in the field of ICT. We cannot live without ICT. And other means to improve quality of life, efficiency of urban operation and services, and competitiveness, while ensuring that it meets the needs of present and future generation with respect to economic, social, and environmental aspects. I like also this definition, and actually my student, for them it's easier to understand what is exactly behind the term of smart city, because it sounds great, but problems behind of this great name are really important, and solutions which we have to make are also very important. At the beginning, let me start with during the years, actually, I paid attention to that. The problem is to define the main elements of the smart city. That's why I put this table here in order to be able to divide element by element and to see what is the most critical for each one element. If we will start with citizens, one without us, it's not. It is absolutely impossible to have a city. But the issues there, which are important in the security field, are the first accessibility of all the areas and all the um, services provided in smart city, and one also important thing, ease of use, because we are technicians. For us it's easier to use whatever it is, in the technical point of view, or in the everyday life. But some of the people who are not technicians, but they have to have experience with all those smart devices. That's why it's also important issue to make all the devices and the life easier, but in the same way to be safe and to be secure. Also, it is important when you have to define what are the main issues, to pay attention how the analysis will be made. In some cases, in smart city analysis of the situation, it's easier to make it from the bottom to the highest level. In some other situation, to take the top-down approach. It depends exactly on the situation. It depends on the issues which should be solved as a problem. Then one more very important thing is the leadership and strategy. Actually, in most of the cases, the problem is that we have a lack of strategy. Because when you have a strategy, you know what is the first step, what is the second step, what will be the third step. And without a strategy, it goes like Browning movement. It's like electron uh, in the atom structure. That's why we have to define at the beginning the strategy, and to see who will be and which are the people who are responsible in the smart city. And it should be very clearly defined who is for what responsible. Uh, then in this strategy leadership, to define inclusive decision making, because without this we can now go further, we can now go ahead and to improve our life in the smart city. Because uh, the idea of smart city and is to make the life easier and more safety for us. Then we have to define very clearly the stakeholders and the stakeholders engagement, in order to know who are the main actors in the movie, our movie, in which we live, and what is their engagement, and what is the partnership between the organizations, between the people, between the public and the private part of the world. Then the next important element is innovation and enterprise, to see all the issues related to them. Here is written the ecosystems, the economy and the situation in the economy, the data of economy, in order to see what are the tendencies, what will happen in the next few years, in order to be able to make some plans. And then the finance business models, because I will speak today for the smart city, for the security issues. Always security takes money. That's why probably I should start with the finance business model in order to continue with all the things. Uh, I'm joking, but it's really important. Then also important thing, in even in my area, as an engineer, is the infrastructure, the technology used, and the data. What are the data flows, and what is happening with the technology, and do we have the appropriate infrastructure in order to be able to implement the highest level of technology, and how exactly we process data. Because actually, after the GDPR, the process of processing data is in a little bit more clear, but not everybody understood the idea of the GDPR. That's why I put it here in the issues: future-proofing resilience, the role of sensors in data, the privacy, security, and of course the ethics, because security is a really important goal, but there are some ethical issues on which we have to pay attention. And then the measurement and learning, how we can measure in order to make everything countable, in order to see what should we do, because without any measurement and actual data of the situation, we cannot take any actions in order to improve the system. That's why here one of the important things is to make good KPIs, key performance indicators, in order to see what is exactly the performance of all the elements of all the participants in the smart city. And if I can say what are the main problems, here we started with idea to define what are the main problems in order to find solutions for those problems. The first one, maintaining the privacy and security of smart city. It is really important problem. As my son said, Mom, see on the movie, they can command, the bad people, as my son is saying, they can command the SCADA systems. They can go into the FBI system within seconds, but it's only on the movie. I'm trying to convince him that it always takes a lot of time, but it's really important to pay attention to the security issues in this area. And this privacy is really important part of the security, because in most of the cases, security takes part in the privacy of the person, because even your face will be seen on some kind of a camera in the city, and actually, because of the GDPR, you have right to say, I don't want to be just a moment for the word, to take a picture of me, and even with this reason, you can ask to stop some of the cameras which are from. In Bulgaria, we had such a case with the municipality. A person wrote some requests in order to be deleted from all the cameras in the city. It was very funny, but it was true. And the reason was the GDPR. It was a really interesting case. And the second one is the organizational boundaries, which are disappeared. Actually, it's really important to see what are exactly the boundaries in the smart city, who for what is important, and who where not important, or who and for what is responsible, and how exactly you have what are your rights, what are your permissions in order to operate in smart city. And one really big problem is as we become good in the providing security in smart cities. The hackers become more and more intelligent, and they use always newest and the smartest tools. Actually, it's always a matter not only of money, it's matter also of motivation. And unfortunately, in most of the cases, on the other side, I mean the hacker side, are the more money than in our world. And the problem is this complexity of tools used by the hackers and new types of attacks. Actually, each one intrusion detection or intrusion prevention system, it doesn't matter how good it is, but it always can be overcome, because the new attack is not known, and each new attack, it's a matter of time to realize that you are under attack. That's why it's really important to pay attention to this more and more becoming complex and intelligent part of the attacks. As I mentioned, the next one are the video cameras in the city, which are the main source of distributed denial of service attacks. Actually, in our university, we are dealing with different type of algorithms on the different level of OSI model. And we are working on application level to fight with the DOS attacks, because they are the most severe ones. And even we work on the lowest levels, on the physical level of cybersecurity. Actually, you see, they are trying to find the weakest place in our world. And that's why we have to find more advanced tools for discover and protection. Actually, that's why I started to explain about the intrusion detection and intrusion prevention systems. Next important things are intelligent worms targeting the IoT devices, because in the smart city we are crowded with IoT devices, different type of devices. It depends on what kind of smart part we live. Jailbreaking of the clouds and virtual machines. Actually, in the ISO committee 2 years ago, we vote for one new standard, the security in the cloud. It's part of the ISO 27 standards. And actually, we have the framework for the security in the cloud. And now it's only a matter of following the requirements of the standards in order to prove that we have secure clouds. Ghostware to conceal attacks. Blastware to destroy or disable when attack is detected, and ransomware as one of the biggest also threats in the smart city. One more important thing in order to see what are the threats is to define clearly also what are the assets which we should protect in smart city. Let's start at the beginning with the infrastructure. In most of the cases, it's a public one. In order to see what is exactly the infrastructure, and does the infrastructure have tools in order to protect the infrastructure. Then the private sector infrastructure. Actually, in Bulgaria, we have problem between the private and the public infrastructure, and what are the limits in order to guarantee the security issues in this infrastructure. Then the citizen-owned data, the open data in the society, if we have some kind of a private data, but those are very well defined in the legal framework in Bulgaria and also in European Union. Then the sensors and IoT devices. In some cases, I would put sensors and IoT devices even on the first place of the asset, because through the sensor and through the device, you can go inside of everything, inside to our homes, inside to our banking sector, in everything. Then industry and control systems, it is really important. Actually, the problems with the security in the nuclear plants started with a weakness of one protocol. I will not say the name of the country, but everything started, probably it was 10 to 15 years ago, with the weakness in one of the protocols in one nuclear plant, which was hacked. It was pink of death. And that's why it's became a really big problem, because when you have access to nuclear plant, the life will be absolutely different. And then on the citizen assets, which is not on such a high level of importance when you have to make the risk analysis. And I forgot to say that I put all those assets here in order to see what are the main risks. During the process of finding what are main threats, it's good to perform the risk analysis. Then come the databases, different type of databases, the applications used in the society, and actually at the end the smart devices, in order to see how each one asset can be protected. I put it here, this picture, because I like very much. I found it, but actually I'm not sure where exactly I found it. I wrote here, I left it this in order you to be able to see it. And I liked this because you have a different type of our society, and what is the goal and what can be the challenge during the process of making the goal achievable. And also what is the situation with each one part of the industry. And here are listed also the challenges in each one sector of the economy, and that's why we can make a good analysis what is happening in the different areas of the cities, of the smart cities, and what kind of a solution it has to be found in order to see how to provide and how to go ahead with the security issues. Also, one important thing, not one, probably one of the most important thing, is the technologies used in smart cities. I would start with IoT. It was the beginning and one of the most important technologies applicable to smart cities. Then the artificial intelligence, in order to make good analysis and to make good working systems. Then social robotics. For the last 2 years, I found a lot of papers in the field of implementing blockchain technologies in the smart cities, and but I'm focused on the security of blockchain used in smart cities. Then the open data, which is transferred in the smart cities, and actually what are exactly the smart and mobile devices and the social media used. And also one important thing, even some of my students were asking me why I put it here, drones. Because actually in Bulgaria we don't have a legislation according to which it can be defined where to use drones, how to use them, what are the permissions, is there anything forbidden. There is a big mm, uh, how to explain it, a big discussion started here in order to see what are exactly the rules. Because, for example, we had some problems with drones on the airport because they go on the perimeter of our airport. That's why a big discussion for making rules and what will be the applicable legislation in this field is also important. Then the cloud computing, in order to be able to compute all these big data massives and to count and to process them in the real time. Then the renewable energy as a technology, because we have to survive in this smart city. Then the 3D printing. As far as I can remember, one of the colleagues will speak tomorrow for the 3D printing. And big data analytics. As I said, this big data is really a huge problem for the smart cities, even for the security issues, because in my field, in the security, you have to process enormously big amount of data in order to see if some kind of the traffic, if you have a big traffic, in order to see is it anomaly in the traffic, or it is something normal, or it is just a technical problem found in the traffic, in order to see if we are under attack or we are not under attack. And actually, again, I listed all these technologies here in order to see what are the risks, because all the approaches used in security issues are based on the risk and the risk assessment. And again, I put it here, protection requires cybersecurity strategy. All the countries in Europe, we have a cybersecurity strategy. Even in Bulgaria, in March last year, we have, from the March last year, we have a new cybersecurity law, which is good and is clearly defined what is possible to be done and what is out of the line, let's say. The problems here after the technology issues come from the insecureness of the IoT devices and the insufficient testing. Actually, we had a problem with one of the mobile operators in Bulgaria, because they put a new system without testing, only because the provider was really great name in technical industry. And without testing, it cannot be implemented, but we realized that sometimes it happens. And after such a undesirable mistake, the situation is awful. And one also problem is not that we don't have a clear structure and governance of the cybersecurity in the smart cities. We have, as I said, this new rule for the cybersecurity, but still it doesn't work very clearly. And the next problem is skill shortage in cybersecurity. We realized in Bulgaria that we have problems with well-trained and educated people to work in this area. Everybody wants to work in the security, and everybody wants to work with cybersecurity issues, but it's a matter of how capable you are in this area and do you have the necessary experience. Then lack of or insufficient legal framework and regulation, lack of cybersecurity awareness among customers and employees, and again the financial problem. It's always a matter of money, if I can say so. One also important things after realizing what are exactly the assets, what are the main elements, and is the analysis of the threat source. Actually, if we will start with organized crime, it's clear because those organizations are known and they are working in their area. But it's important to reduce their impact in the society. Here, examples of this threat is the theft of personal data and installed ransomware. Then the terrorist groups. Here, the problem is that we have denial of service attack, but the distributed one, as I said, the most severe one, and the intelligence gathering. Then the disgruntled citizens. Here we have service disruption and website defacement. Then important and source on which we have to pay attention are suppliers. Even the standard for the security 27 says, and we have there a part connected to the security of suppliers. In most of the cases, it's a human error or design and security flaws when it's a question of suppliers. Then foreign intelligence or hostile state. Here we have eavesdropping and surveillance or even a sabotage. And commercial entities which can resell the citizen data, invasion of privacy, and at the end, the natural events. Because we here the risk analysis is also really important, and that's why we stated all those threat sources in this manner, and we put the natural events at the end because actually after the risk assessment, the data says that it's really important, but in the smart city, it can be avoided. I mean, the floods, the power outages, it can be predicted in some cases in order to avoid them. One more list of possible tricks. As I said, the energy plants, which is also important, and the manufacturing systems. And one part of the threats is related to the medical records, even the medical devices, because this is related to the human life. That's why I would put this on the first place, and then the other threats. Because with the human life, you cannot make any jokes or to wait something to happen. You have to protect the device. You don't have any choice. Then autonomous driving cars. About this, I will speak excuse me, a little bit later to share what is our experience. Then the satellites. Even Elon Musk last week sent one more 150 new satellites in the space, and to hijack those satellites, you will have and you will cover the whole Earth, actually, if you are capable to hijack them. Then hacking the financial and banking system. At the beginning of the, if we will have to start what was at the beginning in the security world, it was the aim to go into the financial and banking systems because the money were there and it was the most fancy thing. But now it is also important, but it's not related exactly in the first place with the human life. That's why I put it not in such a high level. Then the smart home systems, and again the high hacking of drones. During the last years, attacks with drones are very popular and can be and they are not easily it's not possible easily to be protected against those attacks. Actually, what are the threats and the countermeasures which can be used? 80% of IoT devices, it's a statistic, are vulnerable to different type of attacks. It depends on the place, it depends on the technology, it depends even on the human errors during the process of using those devices. Exactly, connecting the traditional term standalone smart devices, for example, such as lights, appliances, and locks, introduces also numerous cybersecurity risks on which we also have to pay attention. Even some attacks are reported on baby monitors, which are also in this case vulnerable. And actually, if you remember, years ago we started to put some scotch on our cameras, on our devices. Even with not connected device, you can be recorded. Even now, algorithms for data analysis report if today we will speak about the cybersecurity and we don't speak it on the phone, but probably tomorrow you will receive advertisements only in the area of cybersecurity. This is normal. The mobile phones now work in this way. This is a matter also of algorithms. Here we put one picture of the each important part of the smart city system. What are the threats and what are the possible measures to be taken against those threats? Again, we have privacy data and identity theft. One of the most popular measure is to make some authentication of the two-way communication, then to use encryption via the channel of the communication, and to have very clear rules for access control. Then if you have here this light, and actually this is a part of the SCADA system in most of the cases, and here the threat is device hijacking, and the countermeasures to be used is device identification, and again access control, and security lifecycle management, in order to see in the life cycle who for what is responsible and when it has to work or when it has to stay in offline way of working. Then comes the permanent denial of service, as it is put it here, DOS attack, and countermeasures again: authentication, encryption, access control, and application level DDoS protection. That's why I said that we are working also on application level algorithms for DDoS protection. Security monitoring also we have here, and then also analysis. Here in the cameras, again, DDoS attack is the threat. Again, on the application level, measures are almost the same as in the previous one. And here only we don't put authentication because it's hard to process such a big amount of data. And here with the cars, we have really dangerous threat, man in the middle attack, and even when the situation is for the active attack, not the passive one. In the passive one, you only can hear what is exactly the communication, but in the active one, you can say that in front of you there are no cars, and if there is a car and the man in the middle overcome the security systems in the car, you can lead to a car crash, which is awful situation. In the smart home, the situation is almost the same, but I will not explain again all those traits and measures in order to overcome the threat. And actually, here the main goal is to control all the appliances in the smart home. Then you have to do whatever you want with such a home, even to kill people, which is the worst case. If it is the worst case analysis, this is the worst situation. Main attacks, which we can see in the smart city, are almost the same as in the real world, if I can use such a type of explanation. Again, we are talking about man in the middle, and as I said, it is important to see it is active one or it is a passive one attack. The next one, as a severity, is the data and identity theft. Here, it is the aim is to take the data even from the sensors in the smart home in order to make analysis and to see what and to predict what will be the behavior, or even not only of the smart house, even the people in the smart house. Then also the third one is device hijacking. Here, the aim is the control of the device, and after achieving this, device will work on the different manner and on the different rules. Here is one of the greatest measures is to put this pin code in order to access the device. And again, in the smart city, we have the distributed denial of service attack. As I said, we are working on algorithms on this in order to be able to protect via different algorithms these botnet attacks against the devices in the smart city. And again, as I said on the previous slide, the permanent denial of service attack. It's a part of the, in some cases, even you can say that it's a classical DDoS attack. But here, the name which is very popular to these DDoS attacks is the flashing. Actually, in this case, we have the damage of the device, and actually the aim is to replace the device. If you will replace it with the device with the trapdoor, then the attacker will receive access to the smart systems. Actually, here we have to divide. No, we don't have to. It's already made a division of actually the main actors here. We have the secure bot, which is responsible to utilize the cryptographic code and to see what are the signing techniques, and because of it, to ensure that a device uh, will execute only the code by the operating machine, or on any trusted party, not to process any other codes, because this is one of the best way to replace the firmware of the devices, and to put, if you want to perform an attack, to put something with trapdoor, and to see what is the traffic, and to see what is the behavior of those devices. One of the measures to avoid those attacks is also to use a mutual authentication. Here we have the idea is actually each time the smart home device to be connected into the network on which it is a part by some kind of authentication, and then to transmit the data. Uh, Actually, this makes the device legitimate to the system, and in this case, we can avoid the fraudulent source if exists such a source. Also, because of the cryptographic algorithms used, you can make two-way authentication. In most of the cases, we use a secure hash algorithm 1 or 2. X is for the difference between 1 and 2. The difference is in the amount of bits used for the execution of hash function. Also, it is used as a symmetric key because it is a unique string used for encryption. And also the elliptic curve. I'm a big fan of the elliptic curve because with the elliptic curve you achieve a level of security with at least, for example, 80 bits. You receive level of security as a RSA algorithm for 148 bits. That's why it's easy to be used, and the level of security is one of the highest, and you don't need such a big amount of energy or such a big complexity of devices. Even one of the best way, as you saw, is to use some kind of a encryption during the process of communication between devices, and between devices and motherboards and the stations for management. That's why whole the process is good to be encrypted. The algorithm, it's not so it cannot be say so important, but as you saw, you can use the SHA algorithm or the elliptic curve, uh, which in this case you will receive a better speed of communication. And one also a measure to avoid those threats is to monitor 24/7 the system and to perform analysis. In most of the cases, when I go to one audit, people are saying that we monitor everything. Yes, in most of the cases, they are monitoring everything. But the most important is after this monitoring, do we make any analysis of the data received? in order to see if there is any violation or there is some kind of a threat, or to see what measure to be taken in order to prevent the system from different type of attacks. And also important things is to use a life cycle management feature, and because of it, we can control the security aspect of IoT devices during the process of operation. Even the rapid over-the-air device keys replacement during the cyber disaster recovery ensures minimal service disruption. In this case, the actually service device decommissioning ensures that scrapped devices will not be reused again and exploited to connect to a service without any authorization. Actually, again, everything is based on the best way to see what are the ends in the communication and if they have rights to communicate with all those devices. Actually, now I will speak a little bit of the cybersecurity issues in the cars, and I would again start with the term of computer system security, and I will pay attention to it because it actually covers the process and mechanism, actually according to which the important and sensitive information can be protected, and from also alteration or destruction, which could be a consequence from the action of people, or even in the accidental events. Compared to the other computer technology, the strategies and the methods used in the field of cybersecurity are really different, as you saw. Uh, it is mainly due to the special nature of the activity. Even for the prevention of unwanted action in the smart city, instead of providing a specific desired way of operating the system. Due to their nature, actually few IoT devices contain large amounts of sensitive data, uh, actually making traditional ransom attacks meaningless. As a result, cyber criminals are focusing on the completely blocking users actually access devices. And an important development for the automotive industry is the awareness of the context that a vehicle is familiar with the neighborhood, including the presence and location of other vehicles, which is also important to see where exactly between the vehicles we are. And modern cars now have a network of processors connected to a central computer platform that provides, in most of the cases, Ethernet, USB, Bluetooth, or IEEE 802.11 interfaces. Um, Actually, cars now have such features as event data recorder, inspired by the black boxes, which is really a popular term in cybersecurity. Even those black boxes in the aircraft, they record actually the all basic data from the accident recovery vehicle. Then the GPS receiver, the accuracy of which can be improved by knowing the road topology, GPS actually is currently used in many navigation systems. And then the obstacle detection radar at distances up to 20 to 200 meters. For example, such a radar is often used for adaptive cruise control, which we have in our cars, and a short range radar or ultrasonic system normally used for parking. However, a major barrier to development is that for a long time, only a small subset of vehicles are intelligent, but security mechanisms, especially those who involves the wireless authentication, require most, if not at all, vehicles to be smart. And actually, as a result, the authentication mechanism becomes a business challenge in this case. Um, and the threats here are also uh, similar to those on which I have already paid attention, but they have some specifics. Actually, the unauthorized person may perform the activities, for example, to control processing divided on three parts: pressure control loop, for example, for 5 milliseconds period, flow control loop for 25 milliseconds period, discrete events control. And this real-time scheduler has to activate each of these parts according to its period and priority. And actually, the damage, loss of information stored in the cloud, or leakage of sensitive information. Here, the leakage is for the payment, for the routine rules, and like when selling the car and things like this. Eavesdropping, in this case, when there are no adequate protection mechanisms, and actually here the attacker can easily control the stopping, control, and the other functions of the car. Even in some of the cases, you can see your car moving without being inside in the car. Then comes again man in the middle, uh, or actually abduction of a session. And you can have here potential financial losses, uploading malware, obtaining a legitimate key for vehicle theft. Actually, with this key, you can see if you are within the range of the car, you can see your car moving without being inside of it. Then comes again the DDoS, leads not only to damage to the network, but also to unexpected behavior of the vehicle. Even you can make a car crash. Again, in smart cars, you can be under attack of disclosure of confidential information stored in your car. Then identity fraud, most often as a result of cloning the key of the car aimed at misrepresenting the vehicle within the road infrastructure systems. For example, it's a very popular attack to avoid the toll payments. And then came the malware, or the malicious activity, using well-known actually routes for attacking against Linux, Android, and Windows environments. Subsequently, such attacks are also carried out against smart cars. Here in smart cars, we have a lot of methods to ensure the security and privacy of autonomous vehicles. One of them is the electronic license plates. Actually, the main idea is to call the certified identity that the vehicle provides via wireless connection and an electronic registration plate. And the protocols that use such a license plates can be designed in different ways. For example, when the vehicle's engine is running, it can periodically emit a beacon containing its electronic license plate, and a lot of different ways also. A possible application of electronic license plate is the dynamic pricing, for example. And this is also an important way of securing the cars. And
Maria,
one more, yeah.
sorry,
Oh,
but your
oh,
time is over.
yeah. I'm sorry. Then the local verification we have here, actually the securing the smart cards with this local verification. It is based on the GPS system, also the tamper proof. One other is verifiable multi-iteration, also used in order to see by triangulation where exactly is the card and who is transmitting the data. Even again, I was paying attention to the main problems and how to solve them. Actually, I will send you today's presentation, last version, as you see it. In order, if you have any questions, then the email is on the presentation. You can write me or you can ask. Actually, I was trying to present a case on which we had some experiments in order to see what will happen using the algorithms for artificial intelligence and incorporated into the car, and what is exactly the situation in smart city using car system. It was like a conclusion to make the smart city one secure city. I'm sorry, but probably it's because of this that I'm a lecturer in university and I would speak 1 hour and a half and then 15 minutes rest and then 1 hour and a half. I'm sorry for bothering you.
Thank you very much for your very interesting lecture.